Welcome back to Scholastically Natalie, where we talk about books, writing, reading, D&D, and sometimes other things. Today we are talking about the first book of the Edge Chronicles, Beyond the Deepwoods by Paul Stewart and Chris Riddell. I seem to have just been revisiting a lot of YA lit that I remember liking and has greatly inspired all of my world building and fantasy writing, and I never even realized it. Without further ado, let's talk about it. Oops, sorry, I just smacked my microphone. I don't know if you could hear that. Here we start with the blurb. Far, far away, jutting out into the emptiness beyond, lies the edge. Filled with strange peoples and terrifying creatures, this is a world unlike any other, where action and danger await at every turn. Abandoned at birth in the dangerous Deepwoods, young Twig has been brought up by a family of wood trolls. He has always thought he was one of them, until one cold night he finds out he is not. Soon he sets off to find out who he really is, and he does the unthinkable. He strays from the path. So begins the heart-stopping adventure that will take Twig through a nightmarish world of goblins and trogs, bloodthirsty beasts, and flesh-eating trees. Only two things keep Twig going: the hopes of discovering his true identity and finding his destiny. So I have some quotes to highlight, and at the end of this I want to read you the introduction, so I'll let you know when that starts in case you don't want to listen to it. So, one of my favorite quotes is the beginning of the introduction. Far, far away, jutting out to the emptiness beyond, like the figurehead of a mighty stone ship, it's the edge. A torrent of water pours endlessly over the lip of rock at its overhanging point. Those who lose themselves in the edgeland face one of two possible fates. The lucky ones will stumble blindly to the cliff edge and plunge to their deaths. The unlucky ones will find themselves in the twilight woods. What if the wise old oak elf had been saying, in his usual roundabout way, that because his nose didn't like what it smelled, this was not his home? And so for me, this was an excellent beginning to this series. This is a great tale of coming of age, of being different and not belonging, and the naivety that comes with it, and how people can take advantage of that. If you feel lost and abandoned or that you don't quite fit in, people can manipulate you, and it's very easy to do. And so we get to see that sort of thing here with Twig. And then additionally, we also get to see what being kind can get you. A lot of these people take advantage of Twig's kindness or ignore him or are mean to him, but some of them return it, and those things only give back to him later. And I think it's a great example of, despite the fact that you might encounter people who are going to be nasty to you and who are going to take advantage of you being nice to them, you will have ones that return it tenfold. The way this world building is absolutely stunning. It's amazing. It's absolutely insane. I've honestly never read something like this since. I absolutely love it, and I love that they've included sketches in here, like it is like a journal series, and additionally that these sketches are so off-putting. I really don't like the art style, but it's kind of Tim Burton-esque, and then it's all slightly off and strange and weird and gross, and I think that's to great effect because that's basically how the world is. And I just love how large this world is, and I love that everything is actively malicious and scheming, because you find a lot of oh man versus nature, where nature just exists and it doesn't care if it accidentally kills you, and so in the Edge Chronicles, some parts of the nature that exist and doesn't care if it kills you, some of them want to kill you and they really want to do it, and I just kind of love that. They do it so well, and that has definitely influenced subconsciously so much of my world building and planning, and I never even realized it. Additionally, it's also made me obsessed with sky pirates, sorry all my D&D friends, it's this book series' fault. So for now, I figure we can read the introduction. Far, far away, jutting out to the emptiness beyond, like the figurehead of a mighty stone ship, is the edge. A torrent of water pours endlessly over the lip of rock at its overhanging point. The river here is broad and swollen, and roars as it hurls itself down into the swirling misty void below. It is difficult to believe that the river, like everything else that is large and loud and full of its own importance, might ever have been any different. Yet the origins of the Edgewater River could scarcely be humbler. Its source lies far back inland, high up in the dark and forbidding Deepwoods. It is a small, bubbling pool, which spills over as a trickle and down along a bed of sandy gravel, little wider than a piece of rope. Its insignificance is multiplied 1,000-fold by the grandeur of the Deepwoods themselves. Dark and deeply mysterious, the Deepwoods is a harsh and perilous place for those who call it home. And there are many who do. Wood trolls, slaughterers, guile goblins, termagant trogs, countless tribes and strange groupings scratch a living in the dappled sunlight and moon glow beneath its lofty canopy. It is a hard life, and one fraught with many dangers. Monstrous creatures, flesh-eating trees, marauding hordes of ferocious beasts, both large and small. Yet it can also be profitable, for the succulent fruits and buoyant woods which grow there are highly valued. Sky pirates and merchant leagues men vie for trade and battle it out with one another high up above the endless ocean-green treetops. Where the clouds descend, there lie the Edgelands, a barren wasteland of swirling mists, spirits, and nightmares. Those who lose themselves in the Edgelands face one of two possible fates. The lucky ones will stumble blindly to the cliff edge and plunge to their deaths. The unlucky ones will find themselves in the Twilight Woods. Bathed in their never-ending golden half-light, the Twilight Woods are enchanting, but they are also treacherous. The atmosphere there is heady, intoxicating. Those who breathe it for too long forget the reason they ever came to the Twilight Woods, like the lost knights on long-forgotten quests who would give up on life, if only life would give up on them. On occasions, the heavy stillness is disturbed by violent storms which blow in from beyond the edge. Drawn to the Twilight Woods, like iron filings to a magnet, like moths to a flame, the storms circle the glowing sky, sometimes for days at a time. Some of the storms are special. The lightning bolts they release create storm fracks, a substance so valuable that it too, despite the awful dangers of the Twilight Woods, acts like a magnet, like a flame, to those who would possess it. At its lower reaches, the Twilight Woods give way to the mire. It is a stinking, polluted place, rank with the slurry from the factories and foundries of Undertown, which have pumped and dumped their waste so long that the land is dead. And yet, like everywhere else on the edge, there are those who live here. Pink-eyed and bleached as white as their surroundings, they are the rummagers, the scavengers. A few serve as guides, steering their charges across the desolate landscape of poisonous blowholes and sinking mud, before robbing them blind and abandoning them to their fate. Those who do make their way across the mire find themselves in a warren of ramshackle hovels and run-down slums which straddles the oozing Edgewater River. This is Undertown. Its population is made up of all the strange peoples, creatures, and tribes of the Edgeworld crammed into its narrow alleys. It is dirty, overcrowded, and often violent, yet Undertown is also the center of all economic activity, both above board and underhand. It buzzes, it bustles, it bristles with energy. Everyone who lives there has a particular trade with its attendant league and clearly defined district. This leads to intrigue, plotting, bitter competition, and perpetual disputes, district with district, league with league, tradesman with rival tradesman. The only matter which unites all those in the League of Free Merchants is their shared fear and hatred of the sky pirates who dominate the skies above the edge in their independent boats and prey off any hapless merchantmen whose paths they cross. At the center of Undertown is a great iron ring, to which a long and heavy chain, now taut, now slack, extends up into the sky. At its end is a great floating rock. Like all the other buoyant rocks of the edge, it started out in the stone gardens, poking up out of the ground, growing, being pushed up further by new rocks growing beneath it, and becoming bigger still. The chain was attached when the rock became large and light enough to float into the sky. Upon it, the magnificent city of Sanctifrax has been constructed. Sanctifrax, with its tall, thin towers connected by viaducts and walkways, is a seat of learning. It is peopled with academics, alchemists, and apprentices, and furnished with libraries, laboratories, and lecture halls, refectories, and common rooms. The subjects studied there are as obscure as they are jealously guarded, and, despite the apparent air of fusty, bookish benevolence, Sanctifrax is a seething cauldron of rivalries, plot and counterplot, and bitter faction fighting. The Deepwoods, the Edgelands, the Twilight Woods, the Mire, and the Stone Gardens, Undertown and Sanctifrax, the River Edgewater, names on a map. Yet behind each name lie 1,000 tales, tales that have been recorded in ancient scrolls, tales that have been passed down the generations by word of mouth, tales which even now are being told. What follows is but one of those tales. And I just love how that intro sets up the world, sets up all the insane things that exist within it, and it also lets you know that the rest of the series might keep some of the same characters, but it might not focus on them, and I enjoy that. So that, I deeply recommend this book to everyone. It started within me absolutely crazy ideations of sky piracy. Um, and I think anyone would be able to love it. And so with that, Scholastically Natalie is